Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is Franz, Sidney, and we are so happy to have you here at Create with Franz to design the life that you want. Just like a puzzle, we put together what we want, and we hope that everything will, look wonderful in the end. Sometimes we have a little dream. We want to have children, we want a family, and a lot of women are very worried about trying to have children because they think, wow, I might have a miscarriage, my child might be very, very ill, might die, I might lose my husband in the process because husbands don't grieve even in the same way. It might be a very costly thing, so I'm not going to even try. And I heard this a lot of times from the Gen Z. So if you are thinking about having children, but you're terrified about the idea of having problems, this is the episode for you because we're going to give you all the strategies to go through it in an educated manner and supported by true experience. The experience of Cheri Bergeron, who is coming all the way from Texas today. So hello.
Hi there, Franz. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I'm amazed this is a very touchy topic. So I'm amazed that you can handle this topic without crying, or if you cry, that's fine, because it really is something, it involves our spiritual being, our mental being, the body. So it can impact our physical health for many years to come. So women are very involved in this even more than men because we are the shell the producing thing, and we will suffer if something goes wrong deeply and permanently. We might even have PTSD from nasty experiences that can happen while we try to bring a new life to the earth and give them the chance to raise their voice and be heard and become a human that is productive. But this doesn't happen all the time. And I know you had a lot of experiences. Because of that, you have your own foundation, you're a public speaker, you're a blogger, you're a life coach. Is it non-profit or a Cheri's Choice, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. This topic is very, very close to my heart. I really felt very strongly that becoming a mother was part of my purpose. I call it my mission. But it wasn't easy. And I went through a lot of different things in that process. And so, what I'm really passionate about is helping other women navigate their path to motherhood with greater knowledge and clarity than I had. So, I'm really thankful that you've given me the opportunity to talk to you today.
Of course. And the thing is, with pregnancies or even getting pregnant, it's not just one, two, three. So I think, sometimes I watch a Hallmark movies. I know. And throw a
You and my
tomato.
mother, you and my mother.
Yeah. But here's the thing. We are trained from a Disney movie. And back again, I'm a Disney illustrator. I understand that. So I'm not, don't judge me.
I
We are
know.
used to see these people, they fall in love, all is beautiful. And then in the end of the movie, they get married and all is wonderful. But what we forget is after you are with a person, after you start a relationship, there will be problems of all sorts because that's life. So even if you change husband, location, you just meet in a new set of problems. There is no such thing as fixing your problems with marriage or fixing yourself. That doesn't, marriage is not therapy. It's probably the opposite. So we have this idea that once you get married, all is going to be good because you're a good person. Maybe you're a believer, so I'm a good Christian, I do all I can, but things are going wrong. So we have to dismantle this idea that just because you're a good person and maybe you're healthy, you eat well, everything is going to be well. That doesn't exist on earth. 1 in 4 pregnancies end. You don't even know that it happened many times. Sometimes it ends in the very beginning. You think you're just having a period. And I don't know statistics, but how many children are born with problems? That's part of life. We have to accept this happens. And that's the optic I wanted to view this episode with. It's not to put you down or make you feel depressed, but make you be realistic and therefore full of hope that there are so many ways of becoming a mother. There isn't just one way. So, Cheri, what was your situation? You get talking.
Well, sure. I mean, like you, I bought into the fairy tale, and I had two dreams when I was a girl. One was I wanted to make something of myself. I wanted to have a wonderful career, and I felt that the world was open to me, and that was a big priority when I was younger, maybe like some of the people listening. I also felt that at the right time, I would have the fairy tale. I would meet the right person, fall in love, and that marriage and family would just fall into place. But the problem was, as I started my career, things didn't really go that smoothly. I didn't find the person that I felt I wanted to have children with. And so then we get into the pressure of the biological clock, right? Does people know about the pressure of the biological clock? And what am I going to do? This fairy tale is not working out for me. And then we start to get a little bit sideways in our thinking, where it's like, now I need to make this happen because I was so accustomed in my career to being able to make things happen and to have promotions and have success. But somehow in the realm of relationships, I felt powerless. How am I going to meet this right person that's going to give me this dream of the family I've always wanted? And so, what I had to realize was that true empowerment was realizing that maybe it's not going to be a traditional fairy tale for me, and I was going to have to write a new one. So that's really part of the journey that I embarked on. Some of the things that I went through were in a marriage. I decided to settle for someone who looked good on paper because I had the urgency at the age of 36 that, hey, if I want to make this family thing happen, I better get on it. And so our relationship was more based on the sense of urgency than really true compatibility. And that really creates more problems sometimes than solutions, I find. But then, as things went forward, I struggled with pregnancy. And you're right, Franz, it really did create a strain on the marriage. And ultimately, that marriage did not survive.
I know the story very well because there is a lot of pressure to do things in a certain order, etc. But sometimes you do not have a chance to meet a person that has values and principles and habits that can go with yours. So that's reality. It's very difficult to date. And I have to say, I do not envy at all Gen Z or anyone here who is maybe their 20s because it's full of people that really don't know what their relationship is. They're all like stuck to their chat GPT, they're texting the whole day, and then they cannot talk. They cannot talk to you. And communication, isn't that the most important thing in a marriage?
It is. And the thing is, though, I think there's true opportunity in this new generation to break free from some of these one size fits all fairy tale and really become a parent and build a family in the way that really suits you, as opposed to trying to force fit yourself into some kind of traditional fairy tale if that's not working for you. So my belief is that it's better to let love find you in its own time. And if you need to move forward with starting to build a family, well, there are options to do that. And so that's really a part of what I encourage people to do, is be true to yourself. And if you try to force fit the fairy tale, you may create more harm than good.
Yes. So I read that you have a lot of fertility challenges as well before even being pregnant. So was that something you want to share here? How
Sure.
difficult was this journey? And especially what was the support in you? Because we are now in the month of talking about how our faith in God helped us. So that one also with therapy helped. Do you want to expand a little bit? What was
Oh,
helping
sure.
you in this journey to carry the weight every month? Oh, this is gonna, it's not gonna
Right.
happen.
Right. So it was a 10-year fertility journey for me. I had my children at 44 and almost 47. Which is, late. I got married at 36. So from the age of 36, I just started trying to become pregnant naturally, and it just wasn't happening for me. And at the age of 40, I sought help from a fertility specialist, and he showed me the realities of a woman's fertility. And the fact is, it starts to decline at age 30. And from about the age of 35, it starts to fall off a cliff. It's not just a little gentle slope. It is like a black diamond kind of, straight down situation. And by 40, it's just not good at all. So I chose to use an egg donor because I found out that using younger eggs meant that I had a really great chance of having a healthy child. And that was what my priority was. But even then, Franz, it was not easy. I had more than one loss. And, what happens during that whole process is it's very shameful for women because it hits at the core of what we consider to be our identity. A big part of a woman's identity is being able to conceive, carry, and deliver a child. And when you can't do that, you start to ask why. And it's like, is there something wrong with me? As some people would even said, well, you pursued your career for too long, you missed your chance, you don't get to be a mother, you don't deserve to be a mother, and things like that. And so there's just a tremendous amount of societal shame as well as personal shame that this is not working. And those are the kinds of things that really test your faith. Does God think I'm unworthy to become a mother? Do I not get to become a mother because of my bad choices or what would be deemed as bad choices? And that takes a tremendous toll. And then you go through the fertility process and you measure your life and plan your life in 30-day increments. And you think you're going to be so hopeful, this is going to be the time. And then a few weeks later, you're devastated that it didn't work. It takes something like 3 IVF cycles on average to have a healthy child. That's a lot of disappointment and a lot of money, of course. So all of these things really can shake a person's faith and think, I thought you put this desire in my heart to be a mother. Why are you making this so difficult for me? Right? We hear that God wants to give you the desires of your heart. And so I got very angry about that. And also, the other thing that's so hard to deal with, Franz, is watching your children suffer. And so, when I had twins, and my son was born with a very devastating disease where his lungs didn't develop. And when you have to watch your child suffer, I think that's really when you question God the most. How could you allow this child to suffer this way? And so God and I got into quite a few arguments. We weren't speaking for a time because that suffering just seemed inhumane to me.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I see a lot of times in forums. People, well, why God allows suffering? Why God allows disease? Why does He allow wars? Well, isn't that part of a growth and learning how to help others? And I always think, I don't know if it's true for everyone, but after you've been through something, don't you develop a tremendous empathy for those who are going through that? And then you can go and help them and make them feel a bit better.
I agree. So, I mean, I think two things. For one, there's free will in this earth, and free will causes a tremendous amount of suffering because you can make a choice to do something that is life affirming or something that causes devastation. There's always a choice. The other thing is, I don't think that God controls every piece of things. For whatever reason, my ex-husband had a genetic condition that was undiagnosed, and so biology can sometimes be pretty ruthless, unfortunately. And that was the circumstance for my son. So, what I found later on, after I had gotten through some of this, is that this opened a way for a new purpose for me. That I was going through some of this suffering so that I could help other women achieve their dreams of motherhood. And so I think that's also how God works in helping us take our suffering and turn that pain into purpose for other people. And so I think that really became something that restored a lot of my faith.
Yes, giving back, even when we are feeling very poor, there is something there that we have learned we can share because we're always one step ahead of somebody else who is maybe in the beginning of a journey, like expecting that when I mean, this happens, you get raped and you're pregnant. Yeah, you do it the first time with your boyfriend and you're pregnant. It does happen. But in other cases, it's you're there a year, 2 years, everyone is there taking the kids to school, and you feel like, I just cannot. And then you see these little groups, the moms with the kids, and you're like the single woman or the childless woman. I never heard of a childless man. The bear woman, never heard of a bear man. And so you start feeling like, well, there's something missing here. There is something missing. Although I always thought in my life that motherhood is how you deal with the children. For example, I was raised partially by my grandmother for a couple of years. We
Yeah,
lived with her because my parents were crazy busy. We were working in another town, and it was literally 24 hours. We were running a big hotel. We were preparing 2,000 meals a day. So there was no time for the kids. So my grandma said, pass them over. We're stuck here the whole day. And we were with her, and I didn't have two sets of grandparents. I only had one, so I never knew there were two. I was like, discovery. But she was just like my mom. There was no difference for me, same love, and she treated us like children. And so I thought, well, just like her, you can be like a grandma, you can be a person that fosters children or that helps children or maybe teaches in a school. So there are lots of ways of mothering
that's
that
true.
don't always mean having the child, like you, because you also did fostering, right?
I did. And, the thing is that we have such a constrained view of what a family should look like: mother, father, and 2 point whatever children. And the fact is, we really need to open up our definition of this, because what children need is love and commitment and someone that empowers them. That is really what children need. And it's not based solely on genetics or biology, So I feel very privileged that I got to be a foster parent for 7 months for a young girl. I wish I could have adopted her. She was actually reunited with some family members ultimately. But I feel like that time that I spent with her, I gave her a gift that could never be taken away, because she got that love, she got that security, she got that commitment. And I think that soaks into our souls from wherever we get it. And so your grandmother gave that to you. I have the same kind of situation. I was a single mother by choice with my children, but we lived with my mother. And so my children have gotten to experience their grandmother on a day-to-day basis, which is such a gift, because she is a wonderful, empowering woman. I talk about her a lot in my book, and that she really showed me the kind of mother that I wanted to be. And so my children have been so fortunate to be able to live with her and her influence. And so we never know the path that God has for us and the people that are going to make that difference in our lives. And I would also say we don't know what impression you might make on someone else and how God might use you to be that mothering kind of influence. Even if you're not their
Mhm.
technical mother, you can give that gift to a child.
Indeed, I always think our words have enormous power, so we can empower anyone. One passing comment can totally change your life. And I have so many podcast episodes where a person said, oh, yeah, I had this problem because one teacher told me you are never going to be good.
Right. That's true. The power of words. You're right.
Yeah. And I remember there was a guy in Norwich. I used to be in Norwich in England, and called, I think it was called Will. He's now recently died, so not a lot of people will know him. But he was told by his agricultural college teacher, you are just terrible with plants. You're never going to make it. You will burn everything you touch. And he was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And he instead bought some land in the middle of the city of Norwich, and there was a really weird high wall area, and he built a fantastic tropical garden that people worldwide came to see.
Oh
He
my
was
gosh.
the top expert.
Well, sometimes it's really good to prove people wrong. I mean, I've done a lot of things simply because people said I couldn't do it. So sometimes that's a great inspiration and motivation for things. But in this case,
Exactly.
I really did feel that called to be a mother, and I felt a strong sense that I wasn't going to be fulfilled if I didn't achieve motherhood. And if there are people who are listening today that have that thought, have that feeling, but they don't know how to get there, I just want to encourage you and say that there is a path to motherhood. I started this nonprofit to help people navigate their path to motherhood. There are so many resources and things. So reach out and get support. And then I really believe that. this is a partnership with the creator. Even if you're not carrying the child and delivering the child yourself, if you're in the process of bringing love into your life, that is a partnership with the creator.
Right.
And, just think of
Really
it as this sacred journey to find the children that you were meant to have and be open to those possibilities and see where it leads you. And really, that's what I did. And that's how I have my two beautiful children I have today.
amazing. I'm so touched. And all children need love and attention and support and somebody who believes in them and tells them, okay, you can do this, but also somebody with boundaries. So they're not running wild like crazy, but they know what is right and what is wrong. We've got an idea there. So they will function in a society that is based on rules, which are based on what? Common sense, the basic rules, not all. Lots of the rules I'm like, why do we have? But we raise them, we love them, we support them, and we tell, careful here, careful there, off you go. We are really there because we are so committed, and we love them, whatever. We just love them. What is the strategy? If I am now a 25, 35-year-old, 40-year-old woman, and I want to start to step one this journey of becoming a mother in some ways, what should I do first? Maybe my mental health is not very good now because by now I feel that I'm old. I don't have stand a chance. Maybe I feel like I'm ugly. No man will ever want me. Or maybe I feel like I'm so ill that my kids cannot really exist. So it's very like
Mhm.
a framework you have built that helps people step by step to get there.
Yes, yes. So the thing is, you have to plan for motherhood. We plan our careers, but nobody really teaches us how to plan for motherhood. And really, I think that that involves understanding why you want to become a mother is one of the first things. Are my motivations correct? Is the first part. And then it is, what are my options to become a mother? And there are so many different ways. So, you can proceed without a partner. I had no idea how readily available sperm is. It's almost like you could go to the grocery store and pick it up. And so, I mean, really, if meeting the right person is what's holding you back, that doesn't need to be an inhibitor to you. There are plenty of sperm banks where you can get, a good match with you, and you'd be amazed the kind of information that you can get. So, what I would say is, you know, step one is evaluate why you want to be a parent. Step two is heal your own wounds from childhood, I think is a very good approach because otherwise you're going to pass some of those things along. And then three is to get educated about what kinds of options are available to you. Cheri's Choice has a ton of resources for you. And then, get support and get into community with people that are walking that same path that can help guide you and support you on that journey. I think those are kind of my big recommendations.
Okay, that's great. So when you're talking about healing, do you have an example of showing how that when if you have not healed, you can pass that to the child?
Yes, well, I'll tell you that for me, I had a lot of issues with the males in my life early on. My father and my brother were not accepting of me. And what happened, because I struggled to work through that. I found it hard to get into a relationship with someone because I didn't feel like I could fully trust. And so that delayed my journey of motherhood because I had some unresolved issues. That was one big thing. Right. But if you, let's say that you're wounded by your same-sex parent and they don't communicate very well with you, or they didn't express love to you, that's something that's important to heal so that you can freely love that child. So, I mean, for example, and that issue with men. So I found out I was having a son and it gave me a panic attack because I was like, what happens if my son treats me the way my father and my brother did and the previous relationships that didn't work out? What if he hurts me? What if he betrays me? What if he doesn't love me? And I was working with a grief counselor at the time. And you know what he said to me? He said, what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't? And he said, and what if beyond that, he helps you heal? And so that opened me up to the possibility. And I said, I can't keep my heart closed to this little person, this little man that's coming into my life. It changed everything for me, friends. And now we have the closest relationship, a wonderful relationship, because I was willing to put that baggage behind me.
You know, we could do a whole episode just on that because
I know, it'd be great.
they would be great. I mean, 270 plus episodes now. So, and you are 271. So that is so true because our parents carry their own burdens. And the past to us were all preconceived ideas because we are humans. We have experiences, and we, especially women, we have a really good filing cabinet full of examples. So when we got hurt, we don't seem to have a great filing cabinet for all the good examples, but we have a good one for not being hurt. Why? I don't know. But, but certainly, neuroscience basics is that we acquire an experience, and with that experience, we make evaluations of what the principles and the values and the habits are important to take us away from the pain that it has caused. And because of that, we might have a terrible relationship with the same sex parent or the other. And because of that, we will be attracted to certain people and not attracted to other people. So if you look at what we're attracted to in life, what we like, what we hate is always connected to what happened in the childhood. But sometimes we believe that we build as a child are not based on the truth. They're based on emotions, and emotions are never the truth. So the map is not the reality. And I always say to people will know, if they've been in this podcast, the map I draw of my city where I live now is not the same as a proper geographical map. It's just different because that's how I view it. I'm a short person. I always go from here to Walmart and back. There are certain areas that I don't know. Some areas for me, as I found out yesterday, I was driving round and round. I couldn't find parking at all in the whole, but it was all permit. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get, how do you say, a fine for parking in the wrong place. So I didn't go to a little sale that was going on because literally for 3 blocks around, there was no parking. And I had no idea how to park the car and then walk to this complete area. So I was almost, I'm not saying panic, but I'm so frustrated, 25 minutes, I can't park. I miss the event completely. And this happens because I have no idea and I don't want to venture into this unknown place and then walk for miles back to my car. It's just painful, isn't it? And this happens the same in our life. We have experiences. We're like, I'm never again gonna have a dog because this happened, that happened, that happened. I'm never again gonna marry somebody with a beard or somebody with a belly or whatever funny ideas we got. And also lots of preconceived idea we get by watching wrong movies. They give us this idea that this is what relationship look like. This is what success look like. Oh, maybe we're on social media. We have wrong ideas. So we might create trauma by continuously reading doom and gloom story as well without having a bad experience regarding child. Oh, I had my friend, she had lots of kids and she couldn't cope, and the children were neglected, so I'm never gonna have children. And I'm like, but that's her. That's
Right.
not you. You're gonna be
Right.
different. So our brain sometimes we have this little voice going blah 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 blah, and that's what we need EMDR to get this trauma sorted out, somatic therapies to get it out from the cells. It could be a bad argument between our parents. It could be anything. But if we keep going with the same type of partner that is not quite right, or maybe an abusive person, or maybe we end up literally expelling the children because our body cannot bear this. And I have example, I have stories of women that thought they could not become pregnant because of some certain things they would happen. And they had to work with a therapist, and as they did so, they immediately got pregnant, had a healthy child. But before that, they just couldn't hold the pregnancy because
Yeah.
deep down, they thought, actually, yeah, one of the stories I read was this woman that was a child of 10. I think she was the 10th of 9 children, nine, 10 or even worse. I can't remember. It was a lot of kids. She grew up quite neglected. And her mom was hysterical all the time with all these kids. They were poor, there were lots of problems. The mother didn't want to have all these children. It just happened in the 60s. That's how it happened. One of us, there was very little
We know
television,
something was happening.
2 channels only, and at 8 p.m. we were finished. So we had nothing
Oh,
else to
there
do.
you go. There was nothing to do. All
There's
right.
nothing else. No entertainment, no mobile phones. So it was in a book. It was all about losing weight using your mind. And this woman tried for years to get pregnant. And all the exams, all the tests were perfect. She couldn't. And then it turned out that deep inside it was hypnosis session. She thought that the child was not going to be loved. So the
Mm,
child could not enter into her because she was resentful towards the lack of love and neglect. And so she
wow.
couldn't really love this child. So she kept aborting every child
Wow.
for, you
It
know,
is a mind, body, spirit kind of journey
crazy.
to to be pregnant and to become a mother. It certainly is. And I think and what I want people to know though is you can be empowered in doing that. Think about all the tremendous power that you have if you navigate the path intentionally, if you seek paths for healing, you can use that as a force for good as
Yes,
much as you can a force for
yes.
destruction,
And there will be 1/4 of women in the world has been through something like that. And even more women may have problems after that. So more statistically, they're there. They might share their story. They might give you suggestions. They might give you wrong suggestions. But some women are there to help you. And there are so many organizations, including this called Cheri's Choice, correct?
Yep.
And they help you. So you are not going to walk this alone. You can walk with people who've been through. You can walk with faith, knowing that God wants you good in the end. And even when you lost a child or a child was ill, there was always something that's going to come out of that. You can transform that into a gift of love for somebody else who is suffering. So there's always something good you can do, but you need to ask for that help because it's not an easy journey, let's say it.
That's right. That's right. But it, as I said, it is a sacred journey, and I wouldn't change any of it at this point because it gives me the opportunity to use some of the experiences that I had to help other women achieve their dream of motherhood. And I'm really passionate about that. So I would encourage you, reach out to me through either cheribergeron.com or through Cheri's Choice. And, know that if you believe in your heart that you are meant to be a mother, that I want you to feel hope and that you can have the child that you were meant to have.
Yes, in one way or another, this will happen. Let's hope it becomes a great fixation and that we can realize having a child is one part of our life. There are lots of areas, so we have to understand all these bubbles and balls that we are juggling. We have to balance those as well. So let's think about it. I mean, therapy, help, guidance, prayer, and faith. And here's my last question: are you still having these arguments with the
God.
Creator?
You want to know if we're still in a fight? No, because I came to a point where, as I looked back, a therapist I was working with said, have you ever looked for the tender mercies in your life? And tender mercies are those circumstances and those people that God puts into your life to help you through difficult circumstances. And when I looked back through that whole 10-year journey, I saw so many things and people, and they just couldn't have been coincidences. And that realization made me feel so loved in spite of all of this difficulty and suffering. I knew that God loved me, and I knew that it wasn't that he was judging me and saying I couldn't become a mother. He wanted me to use these experiences to help other people. And so we are very aligned, and I'm very grateful for the journey I've been on and the fact that I finally do have the family of my dreams.
Fantastic. And it's a great ending to know that in the end something good happened. Not everyone will be able to have a child with their own body, but maybe they'll be able to foster, to adopt, to work with children. There are lots of ways of blessing children that are not physically yours. I know it's not the same feeling, but I can tell you, once you're there, you realize, actually, I'm quite happy that I've went through this path. Maybe it was not meant for me, but having the faith is really good support. So please
Well, let
do.
me share. I do have a story for that. So
Oh, thank
we
you.
lived next to a neighbor. They moved in when I was pregnant with the twins, and I didn't know them very well. But I ended up then in this whole traumatic situation where my daughter was in the neonatal ICU for 40 days, and they stepped in to help. They became quite bonded to us. We became family through circumstance. They had been married for 50 years and had decided not to have children. She wanted to have children and he didn't. And she thought he would change his mind and he didn't. And so she always carried a sorrow about wanting to become a mother. Well, she was there from the day that I brought my daughter home and she got to hold her. She ultimately became the godmother of my children. And she was there for every year of their life until she passed away at 80. She got to be a grandmother and experience some of the joys of motherhood late in life when she never thought that she would have that opportunity. And it was just from moving in next door and being open to that relationship. So you never know how God is going to orchestrate things for you to get those desires of your heart. You never know. And we just have to walk forward in faith and put one foot in front of another, honestly.
Yeah, because we don't know how it's going to work. So I'm so glad that you came over, Cheri. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
You. It's been a delight.
I am just thinking, wow, you guys have to share this episode with everyone because that's going to be so helpful for everyone to have some hope and faith that things can work out. Sometimes our plan is to have a little flat, with one room and a little door, and that's it. And we're like, Lord, help me to build this flat, this little thing. And then, why are you destroying everything? And he's like, well, I'm actually building you a mansion there. So we're like, no,
Right.
I want the flat. I'm building you a mansion there. So,
Right. I have much bigger plans for you. And so we really have to be open to the possibilities. I think that's such a powerful thought. You're right. We have to take the steps in faith and believe that he's going to get us where we're meant to be.
yeah. Thank you so much again. And everyone, please share, subscribe, make a comment, and help somebody who wanted to be a mother, didn't help, to get to this organization that help, like Cheri's Choice, so that you can create the life that you want. Thank you all and take care. Bye.